Okay, here we go. I'm looking at this last measure here, that E minor measure, and we're trying to get used to the slides being either a 16th note, a quarter note, or an eighth note, depending on what it says. That they all sound kind of different. So in particular, this last measure, the E minor measure, would sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. The note before it is this slide. So you end up with 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you put that together with the entire measure before it, you end up with this. Okay? 1 E and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, one more time. Okay, the measure after that has a faster one. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, sorry, last note was wrong. But when you put all that together, so I'm looking at this measure, and this measure. Okay, you should hear several different rhythms. Okay, that way you're really focusing on the pull-off sounding like a 16th note, and this slide quarter note, and the eighth note on that last measure. Okay, so I want you to focus on those notes sounding the right amount of time. Okay, then we started this new section here. So looking into 1, 2, 3, fourth line, I had you start with your second finger on the second fret because the measure before that, the last measure of the third line was, okay, just like the one that ends, when we just did, that last measure on the third line, we end with our second finger on the second fret here, okay? So you want to slide second finger up to the fifth fret, and then land your third finger here. Whoops, wrong way. So you end up with this. All right, but they're eighth notes. You want to hear this. Actually, with a slide in between. Alright, and then once you do that, you just keep that down and finish the measure. T-I-M, T-M, I-T-M. Sorry. Okay, that's the tricky part. This needs to sound like it's going 1 and 1 and. So this is just in between that note. Okay. After that, I want you to put your ring finger and your pinky here and your first finger here. We did this chord. This is the end of the second measure of the fourth line, and the reason we're doing that is because that's the chord we want to land on. So looking at the second half of that measure, we have this. I'm going to release that finger. This is the second half of the second measure on the fourth line. The reason I'm making you do that first is because these two fingers are what's happening in the beginning of that second measure of the fourth line. We end up with this. Sorry. Alright, and then everything everything else on here is the same as what you've already learned. So putting all that together, I'm going to start right here and go all the way to this first ending. Okay? Here's what it sounds like.